told us how all this came to be.
The Druidic rites themselves are copyrighted. So I wrote for permission, and they were very enthusiastic about it, and Philip Cargam, who's the elected chief, I believe he's called, of the Order of Bards, Oids, and Druids in England, posted something on his website about it, and then there was a whole follow-up of comments, and one of the people there insisted on calling it the Missa Druidica. And the name kind of stuck. Let me back up here just a second and talk about the Obod rites themselves. There are 8 seasonal celebrations that are equally spaced around a year. There are 2 solstice celebrations, 2 equinox celebrations, and then 4 more that are halfway between all of those. And the way that they've written the text for these, they have an opening portion and a closing portion, and those are pretty much the same from right to right to right to right. And then the piece in the part in the middle is different with every seasonal rite. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, parts of this could be set to music. So why not? And so all of the movements from the Missa Druidica are from the opening and or the closing. And there's no music in the middle.
That's composer Joseph Nemeth talking about his Missa Druidica, which is represented on this program tomorrow by the Orpheus Pagan Chamber Choir. And Joe brought along some electronic demos from the work, and he'll be our guide through its various sections.
It's the opening of the rite, and it's actually prior to the actual liturgy starting. It's an introduction. It's like what you would find in a Protestant church where people are singing at the back of the church and people are still filing in and doing their thing. So that's the first movement. The second movement comes very shortly after the opening of the rite. The third movement is the one that actually sets the sacred space for the rite itself. So it's almost the last thing to happen before the rite itself starts. then the last two ones happen in the closing. One right at the beginning of the closing, and then the last one kind of wraps the whole thing and lets everybody go.
excerpts from Joseph Nemeth's Missa Druidica, one of the works represented on the Orpheus Pagan Chamber Choirs program tomorrow at 7 o'clock at the Temple Event Center on Pearl Street in Denver. Now, the founding music director of the group is Andrew Adams, who also stopped by our studios for a little preview.
12th night is historically the end of the Yule season. Traditionally, in Viking and Anglo-Saxon times in England, Yule lasted 12 days, probably dated from December 25th, because that was the first time that they could actually see that the sun was beginning to grow again, that the days were getting longer. And 12th night was the culmination of all the things that they would do throughout Yule. Yule was the most significant time of the year for settling debts, creating harmony with your neighbor. Everything, as they said, would be put in the pot and forgot. It was a time of a lot of feasting, a lot of joy, also a time of remembrance. The concert is a lot of traditional music, things that are contemporary, newly written specifically for pagan choirs. One's called Night Ride of the Wild Hunt, which starts off benignly enough and then just erupts into chaos. One of the most common myths in Europe, in Northern Europe and Russia especially, the myth of the Wild Hunt, that at wintertime all of a sudden the gates of Valhalla would open up and Odin and his dead warriors would sweep across the land, wreaking havoc, but also carrying people who had been lost in the snow and lost at night up into Valhalla with them. And then we do things like deck the halls, a new text for the holly and the ivy. We're pulling in a lot of different pre-Christian themes, the solstice being one of the most important.
That's Andrew Adams, the founding music director of the Orpheus Pagan Chamber Choir. And again, that concert is tomorrow at 7 o'clock at the Temple Event Center on Pearl Street in Denver. And in case you're wondering, the subsequent feast part of it is sold out, but tickets are available for the concert. Now then, on Sunday, the Boulder Library Concert Series is presenting the Huang Aidomai Shu Piano Trio. Trio.